Nos va a hablar de revisión de la cerámica rota, que no deja de ser un problema importante.
Thank you again. So let's speak about this terrible complication, which is the breakage of ceramics. Can I have my presentation, please? These are my disclosures, not related at all with this presentation. So ceramic breakage is still a reason of concern, as revision in case of ceramic fracture has been affected by poor results and severe complications due to third body work caused by ceramic fragments. You all know that the only cases reported in literature about fatal poisoning with metals is not related to a metal or metal implant, but is related to the use of a metal head in a case of revision for ceramic breakage. So be aware of that. Published data are quite different. We know that with the heads nowadays, it's just an occasional occurrence of case reports. While with the liners, we have a widespread differences. Because as we heard by Eduardo before, the problem is not the ceramic by itself, but what is all around, the metal back. And we have different metal back, different situation, different ceramics from different companies. So we are speaking about ceramics, but we have very different scenarios, also with the same ceramics if the metal back is changing. But when we consider the different components, the breakage of the head can happen due to impact. It's very rare, but it can happen. Usually it's a fatigue process due to conical coupling mismatch, scratches on the taper, or third body. The breakage is sudden and complete. It's noisy. The patient immediately realizes that something has happened, and there is a clear evidence in the X-rays. So very easy to be diagnosed. The only risk factor in this review is the 28mm head with short neck. When we come to the liner, the weaker point nowadays, it is never related to trauma. It's a subtle and underestimated event, not felt by the patient at the first stages, difficult to be detected on X-rays, and can cause a secondary fracture of the head. So here we have problems of diagnosis. There are risk factors for this, very clear: misalignment during the insertion or metal back damage, and cap malposition with impingement and then reloading. This is an example from a colleague. He did not realize that when he seated the liner, it was mal-seated. He don't realize in the X-rays, and this is the obvious consequence. Few times later, breakage of the ceramic and metallosis all around. When we look at the malpositioning, the most critical situation is the antiversion. They look in this study, or the different situation is not inclination, is the antiversion. So be aware, especially for the one who uses the posterior approach and say, okay, I will increase a bit the antiversion to improve the stability. This is a big mistake with ceramics, because antiversion is a problem and can lead to this. And this is the reason, this is the mechanics. The malorientation means neck impingement on one side. And this means very small contact on the opposite side with grain detachment, third body wear, and crack propagation on the opposite side of the impingement. And as a matter of fact, when we look at our retrievals, we can see every time that there are these black stripes on the opposite side of this breakage. That means impingement against the neck. This is a case, the only case that I have of breakage of delta ceramics that I see. This is not our case, we don't use this implant, but you can see that there is a vertical cap, antiverted, there is a breakage of the head and the breakage of the liner. It is starting from the liner and then it moves to the head. So in case of suboptimal positioning, strict clinical X-rays follow-up is requested, and in case of pain, increasing or late noises, or in case of doubt, early revision. That's what I mean. You see this lady, this is a clear steep cap, also a bit antiverted. She's feeling 1.5 years just after the operation, some pain, some increasing noises. Don't wait the worst scenario, which is the breakage of the ceramic. Well, with the revision, it's an easy revision. You take out the stable cap, reorient it, and we move to a ceramic biolox option head with 32mm heads on cross-link poly. Remember also this very important point. The ceramic breakage is an emergency. It doesn't mean that you have to operate the patient in the night or in the weekend, but you cannot put him in a waiting list and say, okay, 3 months of waiting list. You have to operate as soon as possible. For two main reasons. The ceramic fragments can spread all around the tissues, and then you have a big problem to catch all of them around. And then the metal components, especially the taper, can be rapidly damaged with metallosis on the round. And then when you have a taper like this, you cannot go with a revision head. You have to take out also the stable stem. The technique is very well established. Removal of all the visible fragments. We know that it's impossible to remove everything, but try to remove as much as possible. Be aggressive with the soft tissue debridement and synoviectomy to remove all the ceramic fragments that are inside the soft tissue and wash out, and wash out. What about the implant? In case of damaged metal back, in case of malposition, or if you want to use, again, a ceramic on ceramic, that means a new ceramic liner, you have to revise the cap, even if it is stable and well-oriented. In case, if the metal back is not damaged and is well-oriented, you can just replace the liner, cementing a new one, or if you have the opportunity, like in this case, that we have for the same cap, a polyethylene liner, we just replace the liner. If the taper of the stem is not a major damage, a new head on a stable stem, and I suggest with a longer neck, because this case is at a high risk of dislocation, can be used. This is a case that we don't have to do. Do not change just the liner. In case of breakage of ceramics, you can see that in this case, you have a metallosis all around, you have a pseudotumor in this patient because of a ceramic breakage, was just to replace the liner, leaving the metal back in situ. There is no consensus on the bearing of choice. And there are some papers, like this one, which are very dangerous. We must forget this approach. They replace with a very aggressive double approach, removing everything and reporting with results with metal heads. But as we told before, this is very dangerous. And nowadays also the company producing the ceramics for all the other companies advises against the use of metal. So metal on polyethylene is contraindicated in case of ceramic breakage. Of course, you have to replace the head that is damaged every time, if not broken, because it's a problem of the liner, it is severely damaged. So you have to take out it and go with the Biolox option, which is a revision ceramic head. What about the bearing of choice that you have? Ceramic or ceramic for the scratch resistant to third-party wear is very popular in case of ceramic breakages, and we can see here good results. But in these only 2 cases of this series, they also report good results with ceramic on poly. And that's what we do. This is the idea. This is not a liner. This is a sandwich, remove. This is an old type of liners that now is out of the market, where the ceramic was inside the polyethylene. It was one liner. It's a sandwich. There was a metal back, the polyethylene, and the ceramic liner. But this is the idea. The small ceramic fragments can impact inside the polyethylene, doing less damage than a third hard body where a body is between 2 hard surfaces, like in case of ceramic on ceramic. And one more good reason to go to a ceramic on poly is do not use a tribology that already failed, the ceramic on ceramic. We report on this series of patients of some years ago, so we have follow-up on that. 7 men and 5 women at the mean age of revision. You can see mean of 9.1 years after the index surgery. 11 cases of Biolox Forte and 1 Bionate. All fractures, all fracture liners, none were the polyethylene, the sandwich that I show you here, and 2 fractures also of the head, 1 case of 32, 2 cases of 36. And 1 massive wear with the Bionate head. I will show you this case that was terrible. This man came with a story of dislocation of his hip just 1.5 years after the surgery. This we thought about an infection at the beginning. It looks like an infection, like a white pus, but it was not an infection. It was a pseudotumor due to ceramic on ceramic. But when you remove it, you have everything okay, because this is not destroying. The ceramic is not destroying the tissue around. So you have to take out the cap, which is maloriented, go for a good orientation, and go with the ceramic on cross-link poly. The treatment were 4 cap revision in case of malposition, loosening, and uncertain stability. In 8 cases, just the liner exchange. Nowadays, I recommend less this technique. In all the cases, the head was replaced. In the first cases, with the Biolox Forte, and then with the Biolox Delta option. At the mean follow-up of 6 years, there were no cases of breakage. One major were after 9 years. I will show you, but it was a mistake by us some years ago. And no other cases of major osteolysis. This is a 10-year follow-up. You can see with polyethylene, Biolox option, and long neck. And this is the case. This is a severe DDH. This cap was stable, but clear malposition. Probably the reason for the ceramic breakage. Nowadays, this was operated 13 years ago. We cannot just replace the liner in such a malposition. Otherwise, you will go with a liner failure. You can see here that was not problem related to ceramics, but to poly. And this is the revision of this lady. Complications. We have a lot of complications in these cases. Dislocation, vary 50% when you replace just the liner, probably due to underestimated impingement, malposition, and aggressive soft tissue release. In these cases, you can have, when you treat the dislocation, this sort of off-label use, which is a dual mobility, where in this dual mobility, you can use a ceramic liner, poly mobile liner, and ceramic head. This is not for routine, but in these cases, you cannot go to a dual mobility with a metal liner. It's too dangerous, as I told before. In conclusion, ceramic on ceramic has an indication in young adaptive patients for the higher wear resistance and biocompatibility. It is more sensitive in handling of the components and positioning of the implant. This is the drawback. In case of ceramic breakage, accurate fragments, removal and synoviectomy, replacement of damaged component, correction of malposition and impingement are the key points, so the surgical technique. In case of breakage again, at the moment there is no clear evidence of the bearing of choice, but metal should be avoided. Revision using ceramic revision head on polyethylene liners as alternative to ceramic on ceramic can yield to favorable results at mid-term follow-up. Thank you for your attention.